Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust to exit your business or real estate is the best way for you to grow your wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swarts, and each episode I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, sometimes business, and sometimes realtors and commercial real estate brokers in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm excited about our next guest. He is out of the great state of Colorado, and he is focused on helping his clients create and preserve more wealth when it comes to representation. In fact, he has over 18 years experience as a top producer and consistently ranked in the top 1% of all of Keller Williams teams internationally. Prior to entering the real estate brokerage business, he served his country in the United States Army infantry with multiple tours in Iraq and Kuwait. Through these experiences, he has built discipline and consistency that takes to build powerful real estate team in Colorado. Please welcome to the show with me, Brendan Bartek. Brendan, how you do today?
Great, Brett, man. Thanks for so much for having me. I'm excited to get into this conversation, and I really am impressed with what you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much too. I appreciate you being on the show. And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your background and your current focus?
Yeah, so right now, I always tell people I started out as a real estate assistant to a top producer. It's what got me into the real estate industry, and I was her assistant. I took her cat to the vet. I washed her car. I did all these things. So I kind of learned from the ground up. She was doing about $1 million of business every year. And I learned as her assistant. Then I became a real estate agent on her team. Then I became an agent on my own. Then I started a real estate team. Then I bought the entire real estate brokerage. And now I have one of the most successful real estate teams in Colorado. I have a real estate brokerage with about 240 phenomenal agents. And I also have a real estate coaching company called Brendan Bartek Real Estate Coaching, where we coach the most elite real estate agents on earth. So I pretty much covered almost every spectrum of the residential real estate world. And our goal is to help clients build wealth through real estate. And my clients are twofold. It's the general public client and then my agents, right? So I spend a lot of time developing agents to make sure they understand not only how to make the money, but how to reinvest, keep, and grow the money.
Amazing. Can't wait to dive into those secrets and those value added coaching points that you give to clients and to your team members. Before we go there, though, Brendan, I want to take a step back. I want you to go back perhaps even to your high school days, your college days, maybe the earlier days of your life. And I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be able to be a blessing for others. And some people call them gifts, superpowers. I believe they're God-given gifts. But I'm curious, what are those one or two gifts that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
Yeah, well, I think the number one thing. So I went into the social service system when I was age 11. Both of my parents, I was removed from the home, and I emancipated when I was 17 and joined the Army. So my superpower was probably resilience, and I also believe in the superpower of you can do anything in this world. There really is the cheesy, in America you can, the sky's the limit, and all these things. I truly believe that no matter where you came from, for me, for example, Brett, I have a GED. I never went to college. I went straight to the Army. And then after the Army, I worked for Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. And then I went into real estate. And so with enough effort, resilience, and relentless pursuit of self-development, there's nothing you cannot do in this country. It's phenomenal. So I would say, yeah, resilience and relentlessness, if that's a word, is my superpower.
I love it. Those are great superpowers, and we need it more than ever in any day and age, but especially given some challenges we've had with COVID-19 in this last year or so. Lots of opportunity to grow and to be resilient. That being said, let's dive right into maybe the top secret to building a real estate brokerage. Brendan, what's been the one thing that's helped you the most?
Yeah, so I think as far as building the brokerage, it's really been understanding how to source and find talent, number one. And then once you find talent, how to, my goal every day is to find the greatest talent in my area and get them everything they want. And then that was a real mind switch for me, because before I was just like, oh, we just have to find agents and we have to do this. And once I switched up that mindset to be like, hey, look, all I have to do is find great talent and build a world where they get everything they want, that changed the game. So what we focus on is, let's say that you worked with us today, Brett, and you joined our office. We start and reverse engineer everything. We do an exercise called If Everything Was Perfect in 3 years. And so I would say, Brett, if me and you were toasting a glass of champagne in 3 years, what does that world look like? We feel that 5 years is too far, a year is too short, 20 years is a whole nother planet. But in 3 years, if it was the perfect situation and me and you were toasting a glass of your favorite beverage, what did you accomplish in 3 years? And people will pause and they'll kind of take some time to think about that. I break it into 4 simple quadrants, right? The first quadrant would be career. So we take the page and cut it in, 4 quadrants. So career, the next quadrant, money, the next quadrant, health, and the last quadrant, relationships. So if it was perfect and you nailed all 4 of those quadrants, what does that world look like? And we would establish what you want out of this planet. Then my goal is, now I have a 1-page commitment from you saying this is what you want. Now I go back and reverse engineer what it's going to take to have those things be accomplished. And that's what we do. We just start with, a lot of people don't, first of all, it takes some people a day to just figure out what do they want, right? I find, Brett, that most people, you think that should be a clear answer. That's not easy. It's not easy for a lot of people to just go, hey, I really want this out of my life. So that's what we do. We establish that. And then as far as building wealth along the way, the other question that I ask everybody is, I go, what's your number? And they go, what do you mean, what's my number? I go, what's your passive income number that you need to have so that you get to work by choice and not because you have to ever again? Is it $30,000 a month, $40,000 a month, $10,000 a month? I hope it's not $10,000 a month, but if it is, great. Maybe that's what works for you. And I go, now we just have to create a plan to get that passive income, meaning money that's coming either from real estate investments, rental properties, stocks, businesses. We talk a lot about investing in businesses, right? And then when we look at those buckets, okay, which one are we going to attack first, right? We know you have a base salary, but that's not passive income. That's money you have to work for, and that if you stop working, you no longer get that money. So the hardest part, Brett, of what we work on is, how do you make $1 and live on 50 cents? Because in our world, people are making $1 and they're living on $1.10. And so I have to do a lot of education with agents of going, look, we really have to consolidate, or this isn't going to get you to where you want to go.
So much wisdom there. Wow. And I love the way you broke up that quadrant. It reminds me of the cash flow quadrant, right?
Yeah.
Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad. So you have the career, you have the money, you have the health, you have the relationships. And you're saying, hey, let's create an ideal plan for your life, for your health, for your career, for your relationships. And let's look out 3 years from now, right? Because 5 years is too long, 1 year might be too short. And what would have to have happened to feel like you've accomplished what your goals were? That is powerful. I love how simplified you've broken that down, but it's not simple, right? You're right. And it does take understanding and getting clarity on what you actually want out of life, right? And what that actually looks like. And then getting into the nitty gritty with the budgets and the living below your means, right? And investing into passive real estate versus just spending it all. So love it. Okay. So that's great. So you're adding more value beyond just selling real estate, right? Which is ultimately, I think, a good quote by Jim Rohn, right? Which states, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job, right? If you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. But if you work harder on yourself, you'll make a fortune, right? And the idea is not just to make a bunch of money. Well, that's cool because you can give and serve more and do things you want to do. But the idea is to become everything you were created to be, right? Because when we become everything we were created to be, you start to attract, success, right? You don't just pursue it and get it. You attract it by the person you become. Any thoughts on that?
Well, that word, you just hit the nail on the head. I talked to so many people about that word, attract, right? Like if you create this self-development, and as you said with Kiyosaki, and we're big Robert Kiyosaki followers of just really understanding, again, you can live this life two ways, right? And it is truly rich dad, poor dad. And again, just looking at those things, you can make I know people that make a lot of money, but money's not working for them, right? And I see it. I sell clients to this all the time. I sell $1 million homes to doctors, to lawyers, and they make a lot of money, Brett, but their money is not doing very much for them because, again, talk about that same issue. They're making, let's say $1 million, but they're living on $950,000. So at the end of the year, there's this 50 grand left. That sounds like a lot of money when you're making $1 million. Not really if something goes wrong in that kind of lifestyle. There's no passive flow protecting them along the way. So I think when we look at those principles of self-development, it's really one of those things where when you talk about that word attraction, you start to build this universe around you of attraction when you know what you want and you have clarity, right? As cheesy as it sounds, The Secret and all this stuff. I used to be I'm a very skeptical person, right? But I'm like, if you ask the world what you want, put it down on paper, and then work your butt off to get it, it usually happens. You can't just put the stuff on the paper and do nothing. You can't just have the vision. I know people that have amazing vision boards that sit there and work 3 hours a day and don't do anything to obtain it. You're not going to get anywhere. So yeah, it's a lot of those things lining up. But the biggest thing I work on almost every day, Brett, with agents that I coach across the country and in my office is mindset. It's getting them out of their own way. There was some issue with money early on. There was some issue with what they believe in, what they can accomplish. People limit themselves so much, Brett, for what they could be accomplishing because they think, again, same thing. And I forgot, Warren Buffett said it, it's like the things that you want to accomplish, what you think you can accomplish in 20 years, right? That's completely different than what's reality. And you see people just struggle with it, but people don't have a clear vision of what they want out of this world.
100%. And it's so true. And it never hurts to be reminded of this, right? And we're so easily distracted, right? There's 5 things that I've been working on. Tell me what you think, Brendan. And it's called Halt C, right? Whenever I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or in conflict, or the last one now is distracted, right? That's the moment where I'm most vulnerable not to be achieving and not to be focusing and not to be moving forward on the things that matter most in life, right? We want to spend major time on major things and not minor time on minor things. But if I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or in conflict, or last one, distracted, I'm less likely to be doing those things and getting myself into trouble or different mindsets that I shouldn't be in. So it is about your environment. It's about continually feeding your mind, and I believe your heart, truth, and things that are good and things that are going to be pushing you forward towards your goals and towards your visions. Is that a fair summary, Brendan?
It's a very, very good summary. And then, Brett, the last piece of that is what I work with most people on is calendar, right? Does your schedule support $1 million lifestyle, or does your schedule support a $50,000 a year lifestyle? That's all this really comes down to is we all have the same, as cheesy as it sounds, we all have the same amount of time every day. Just depends on what you're utilizing it for. I see people that are like, oh, I work 10, 12 hours a day. And I see them at the office and they're sitting there, shooting the breeze and doing whatever. That's not effective. You've got to figure out what those drivers are. Usually whatever is the thing that makes you the most uncomfortable and usually is the most painful is probably where most of your money lives. And so we avoid it like the plague. For us in real estate, it's picking up the phone and making calling somebody about buying or selling real estate. It's doing an open house. Do I want to go schlep these signs out and we're going to have 5 feet of snow this weekend here in Denver or whatever. Do I want to schlep these signs out, have people come in? They're going to be rude to me sometimes and all this. The answer is yes, that's where the money is. If you do those activities over time and then do them well, you're going to make money. But is it easier for me to post on social media that, I'm looking for someone that's wanting to buy or sell a home? Of course, that's easier. That's why it doesn't work. There's no pain there. There's no discomfort. People, I say it all the time, but they want to live, at 73 degrees or 72 degrees. You crank that up to 80 degrees, they naturally bring themselves back to 72 because they don't want to be uncomfortable. And comfort's the killer of progress. So the hardest thing that we work on is just getting people really out of their comfort zone. And what people hate talking about is their finances, money, that makes them very uncomfortable. My wife, we start having this conversation and it's like, oh, gotta go. Like no one wants to sit there and talk about your tax strategies, right? We know it's just not that exciting. Oh, Brett, I think I lost your volume there.
Oh, I'm back. I'm sorry. I was on mute, everybody.
That's okay.
I call them an emergency family budget meeting, right? And if you want to kill the mood real fast, they say, "Hey, let's talk about our budget meeting." She's like, "Oh, where can I go?" Yeah.
It's the worst. Yeah, no one wants to do it. So that's where I think if you can get people's mindset to go, that's where the money lives and that's where wealth lives, then it's just reconditioning your views. It's really perception, right? Tony Robbins talks about it quite a bit. He goes, life is just perception. It's what set of goggles you're looking through, right? It's really what set of goggles you're looking through. So we just try to work on habits with our agents. We call it habit stacking. The book Atomic Habits is a great book, and it's all about habit stacking, little things on top of, get one little thing right, then the next thing right, and then the next thing right, and then the next thing right. And easier said than done, right?
Absolutely.
Easier said than done.
Beautiful. Yeah. Anything worthwhile in life is uphill all the way, right? So
Yes.
you got to be doing the things that are going to be the highest payoff and sometimes the hardest things to do, but those are the things that are going to be the most worthwhile. What's the most rewarding part of what you do?
Yeah, well, it's the success of the agents and the success that they have, and watching, I've taken agents who worked at car washes that now make over $500,000 a year. I have agents that used to work making pizzas in a pizza parlor that now have multiple investment properties, do fix and flips, are making, well over, the national average, and are just accelerating these things. So I love the fact that real estate is an equalizer where you can get into it. And if you dedicate enough effort, and it's the first year, Brett, really that first year, and everybody really says that all the time. They're like, if you can make it through your first year, well, it's not only make it through your first year, it's excel through your first year, because remember, you're not going to normally have income for 6 months to a year, not enough anyway, because you got to build a database, you got to build a reputation, you got to make the phone calls and fill the pipeline. It's not easy. So that's why the hardest transition that we have is people going, I want to leave working at XYZ company and I want to get into real estate, but I need the income because I got 2 kids and I'm trying to put one through, college. What can I do? And the answer is get up earlier, right? There's going to have to be an extra amount of 3 or 4 hours you're going to have to add into your regiment, and then get really focused on, the problem, Brett, is it worth it? Right? For some people, they get stuck in these roles and they have to decide, is it worth it? Because do I really, really want to be my own boss? First of all, am I structured enough to be my own boss? Number 2, do I really want to make that kind of money? So the rewarding piece is going back to the people that, I've produced rookies of the year, 4 years in a row. I've helped rookies of the year get there, meaning that they came into real estate and they were the number 1 agent that year. It's because we have a very simple formula that people follow. And if you follow it, you'll have success. If you don't like being coached, you don't like being structured, they come into real estate and everybody's going, oh, I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm over here. It's hard to gain momentum. Our business is all about momentum, right? And you have to, one win leads to another win, leads to another win. So that's my biggest fulfillment, is developing agents, starting out with what do you want, creating a plan for them, and then holding them accountable to get there. I always say, so Brett, if you were joining my team, I'd go, look, Brett, if you, what we're doing is I'm taking you to the real estate Olympics. Okay. We've got 1 year, the Olympics are in, Sochi or whatever it is, right? Or whatever, we're taking you to the Olympics. Here's what you're going to have to do to be ready to win a gold medal. You're not going to like it. There's going to be days that you're going to be like tired, your back's going to hurt, you're not going to want to show up. I go, you have to decide, do you want to be a gold medalist, or do you want to play rec softball, right? You can play rec league softball. That's fine. I just don't want you with me. That's not what I'm interested in coaching. That's totally fine for other people, but I'm going to the Olympics.
I love it. It's beautiful. It's great. It's inspiring. I love the transformation that you're helping to create with people, and that's what it takes, right? You got to get around enough people that are running, running at that pace and on that level. And if you're coachable. And by the way, that's part of my story. I started out early in my career, actually at first at Keller Williams, and then I moved into the commercial real estate world at Marcus and Millichap, and I got to learn from some of the best in the business. I call it the Navy SEALs for investment, multifamily underwriting, real estate brokerage, and it was the hardest thing I've ever went to. It was the most challenging. It was the most rewarding, right? And it was right at the crash of '08, and it was like a test. It was like, do you really want this, right? Like, and I was like, well, yeah, I do. Well, what's it going to take? Well, I was working, 50, 60-hour weeks. In fact, nights and weekends, so much so I was making zero, next to zero when everything crashed, because there's no benefits, there's no salary when you're in brokerage, right? And so I was working nights and weekends at Cheesecake Factory by night, and by day I'd be selling real estate cold calls. I'd wear the same tie. In those days, we wore ties, Brendan. And I would
Yeah.
just change my gown, and I'd be serving cheesecake. And one time, I'm cold calling a guy trying to list his $3 million building, and he's in the other room about to serve him cheesecake. I'm like, oh no! I told the other server, like, you go serve the cheesecake, because if I see him, I'm not going to be able to maybe win that deal. In my mind, at least, that's what it was, right? But it was a part of that perseverance and moving through that helped me also to learn the business and to value the journey. And it's helped me to launch capital gains tax solutions. It's helped me to still help people do 1031 exchanges and investment properties. But that all of it is a part of the journey. So that being said, let's dive into your expertise a little bit more in Denver, the residential world that you're seeing right now there, values of just real estate in general. What is your take on your pulse on the market right now for Denver real estate?
Yeah, well, it's just insane. I mean, right now we are in the most competitive real estate market that Denver's ever experienced, just like a lot of the country. Everything's multiple offer situations. I'm seeing houses that are just selling at, 100,000, 150,000, $200,000 over asking price that it's like nothing. So it's an insane market right now, and that's presenting. You would think that, oh, well, that's great for real estate agents, and actually, Brett, it's been quite challenging for a lot of the agents, because unless you have a buyer that has cash that can go and do a property as is with no inspections and be willing to go $100,000 over market value to own a home, if you just have a normal buyer, you're kind of in a tough pinch. It's really hard to get them in a home. So you have agents out there writing 10, 15, 20 offers for a client. And imagine if you're the buyer, and buying your dream home should be a great experience, right? Or buying any home should be a fun experience. And you're just going out and looking at houses and going, nope, you can't get this one. Nope, not that one either. Yeah, you got beat by this one because this guy paid, $20,000 cash more than you. And I'm just watching agents get really deflated because they're doing the best they can, but they're working 16 times harder because there's just nothing out there to sell. So now then we start focusing on new construction, right? And the builders are really just trying to catch up, but there's shortages on lumber. There's so many delays in the supply chain because of COVID. So the supply is just really difficult. And then the last real thing, Brett, is everybody moved out of the city downtown, right? Because they go, if I'm going to get stuck in COVID, I'm never going to be in a position where I don't have a yard again. If I'm going to have to live with my girlfriend, I'm not going to share this 600 square foot studio and work from home. I'm going to kill myself, right? Like, it's not a healthy situation. So everybody's migrating out. Well, that's great, but everybody's migrating out and there's no product. So it's been, to the outside world, they're going, boy, every time I talk to somebody, Brett, they're like, good time to be in real estate. I'm like, if I had a pot of magic cash buyers, yes, it would be a great time for me to be in real estate. And, our team is very listing specialist heavy. We do a lot of listings. Well, people are going, Brendan, I'd love to list my house. Where the heck am I going to go? Where do you want me to go? If I sell this, unless I move to Texas or Arkansas or wherever, where am I going to go? Because I'm going to be in the same position. I don't want to sell this and have to go compete with everyone else. So it's been fascinating and challenging, and we're teaching agents, and the other part is we're trying to protect our agents because they're making offers that really have serious consequences for a lot of clients, right? You waive inspection, you waive appraisal, you do these things because you have to make your offer more attractive. It's like you're going, hey, look at me, look at me. There's a lot of downside that comes when you waive these things. So I'm seeing high risk offers, sellers that are now to the point where sellers, I saw a house the other day that had literally multiple structural issues, basically falling apart, and multiple offers, and seller was like, yep, you're going to buy it anyway. I'm not going to, inspections are a joke. So I'm just worried these people are buying houses that they're going to have to deal with in a year. The market will correct because it always does. And then they're going to be calling up going, you kind of told me not to buy this house without without an inspection. And we're going, whoa, we have disclosures everywhere. We're like, remember, we didn't tell you not to do it. We just said, if you want to win this offer, this is what people are doing right now.
Yeah, so
Crazy.
much there, and it's. I'm in California in Sacramento, and I think we're as hot or hotter than Denver.
Yeah.
With
Oh
and
yeah.
it's and we've got the flood from the Bay Area, right, and more congested cities and super unaffordable in the Bay Area, right? Silicon Valley flooding to the Sacramento area, lower density, right? A quarter to a half of the prices, right? But still, it's next to no inventory, housing crisis. It's a lot of challenges too. And by the way, this also parallels the multifamily world and the commercial world, right? Next to no inventory, cap rates are record lows, cash on cash is very low. I just listed a building for 2.6 million, and they bought it about 10 years ago for about 1.2. And so it's incredible amount of appreciation and next to no inventory, but it's like a 4.5 cap. And you go, okay, you can borrow about a 3.25. So not a lot of room there, but you have the ability to raise rents, and then you have the
Yep.
ability to improve the property. So long term, it's a great buy because you get about a seven cap on just raising the rents of about $200 per unit. But this idea of the 1031 exchange, and I'm wondering if you could shift a little bit to the commercial if you've done any investment properties,
Yep.
of this sell high, buy higher, right? I call it the shotgun wedding. You got to get engaged in 45 days. You got to buy 180 days. And it's just mad dash and this frenzy. And guess what? None of us make good decisions, Brendan, when we're having to force to buy something, right? When time is not our friend, we tend to overpay, right? Kind of like these high risk offers. So could you chat to us a little bit about maybe your frustration with the 1031 exchange or any of your clients that have done the investment property trades?
Yeah, no, and I'm not really seeing a lot of frustration there. The clients that we do 1031s with are usually a lot of times they're more experienced. A lot of times if they're doing this, I have had newer clients even in this past 12-month period that were doing their first 1031. And that's interesting. We were talking earlier this morning about, are you familiar with the 721 exchange?
I am.
Yeah. So we with us, what we try to look at, Brett, is how can we solve the client's issues? And I think as good agents, what you're doing is a great service. Is a lot of agents don't really understand the capital gain world. They don't understand the 1031. They don't understand the 721. My goal as a real estate consultant and what we try to teach our agents is to provide options, right? There's not a one size fits all for every type of buyer, for every type of seller and every type of buyer. So we have, cash buying options, fix and list, sell in 60 days or we'll buy it. 721 exchange, which, we're working right now to do different exchanges where we're putting it into a real estate, kind of like a real estate ETF fund where they buy your rental property, or you sell your rental property, you sell it into a pool to avoid the tax gain on it. And then they manage that pool of homes. You still get paid a dividend, on a quarterly dividend, on how all of those do. And if all the market goes up with all the houses, you get paid that. If the market goes down, well, then just like a regular stock, it's not good either, right? So I think there's a lot of different interesting ways to deal with it. The frustration I see right now, though, is on the capital gains is, okay, so I'm selling my property in Florida, right? Cool. I've got 180 days to identify my new property, right? And I've got 180 days to make sure that happens. Well, the scare that most people have is, what if it doesn't exist? What if it doesn't happen? Right? Like you said, what if I can't? What if I can't? Right? What if I just can't? So it's just education. It's just really education. That's all we can do, is try to explain to people all their options to make sure that they can make the best decision.
Exactly, yeah. And so the options is the key here, right? And having clarity on what it provides and what it doesn't provide. By the way, we have something that's kind of similar to but different than the 721. It's called a deferred sales trust, and it gives the people to eliminate the need for the 1031 exchange, and then to be able to go back into real estate whenever you want. In fact, we just did a deal in Colorado Springs, Brendan. It was about a $5 million sale. And this gentleman, they've owned real estate for years, okay? And their biggest things wanted to sell high and buy low, right? And they felt like liquidity, diversification, and getting out of debt was the most important thing for them. And so that's cool about the deferred sales trust is you can now park the funds into this trust.
Yeah.
And then just wait on the sidelines. And in fact, a guy in '06 did this. He sold high. 5 years later, he bought the same property back at 40 cents or 60 cents on the dollar, all tax deferred, not using a 1031. And that's changed a lot of things for my clients. And my daughter's jumping up and saying hi out in the background here. Anyways, that's you can learn more about that at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That being said, Brendan, are you ready for the lightning round?
I am. Yes, sir.
All right. So knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you would make sure you would do?
I think, and I think about that question quite a bit, Brett. And the one thing I tell everybody is I would have probably got a lot more involved in self-development even earlier, right? If I was at 25, I was always a big advocate of Audible books. Back then it was tapes, right? I mean, it was literally cassette tapes. My first real estate coach was an amazing coach called Mike Ferry. He's a prominent, real estate coach. And I would play these cassette tapes over and over on how to talk to clients and how to understand scripts and dialogues and all of that. And I literally look at that and I go, if it wasn't for those tapes and the Tony Robbins and the Rich Dad Poor Dad, the Kiyosaki's type stuff, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be in the position I am today, because you just get programmed. I mean, in the Army almost conditionalizes you to not really strive to have a lot of money because they want you to serve your country, which I did proudly. But a lot of guys I remember talking in the Army, Brett, they'd be in for 20 years and they go, I don't know what I'm going to do when I get out. They were really nervous because they got so used to having their meals paid for, their uniforms paid for, housing was taken care of. So they gave you just enough to keep you happy. And self-development made me realize that was all BS. You can have whatever you want on this planet. You just have to really write it down, visualize it, build a system and a calendar that supports what you need to do to get it done. And you can do it. You can do it. So I would say to anyone listening out there, going back to 25, just major things that I did is, and even later on, is get rid of XM radio, satellite, all of these things, right? Try to focus on either listening to podcasts like yours, information that, my podcast list is huge. It's the same thing where it's like, what can I gain that's going to help me progress? And you have to fall in love with it, finding it interesting. I think people go, well, I like music. I like rocking out in my car. I go, great, then don't be a millionaire. What do you want me to tell you? That's cool. I like country music. I don't like country music. I get it that you like country music, and I understand that, but is it serving you? Or could you learn a new language in a half-hour home every day, right? Could you learn how to leverage capital gains and learn from some of the best people in the country? Could you learn better selling options? That's all. So I would say self-development, go back. If I could go back, that would be the one thing I would have done. I would have put it even more so into play because it's helped me so much.
Beautiful. Yeah, I call it spending major time on major things and minor time on minor things, right? It's actually what Jim Rohn, I think he coined it, and Tony Robbins says it too. So, you just got to make sure that you're prioritizing your time and your energy in the correct areas based upon what kind of goals you're trying to achieve. Second question is this. What's the favorite book that you've gifted or recommended the most in the past year?
Yeah, so it'll be twofold. So we're really in love with Atomic Habits. I think that's a fantastic book, Atomic Habits. It's all about how to take simple habits, stack upon them, and make them really, create good habitual habits. That's the easiest thing. And then the second is the 12-week work year. So locking everything into 12 weeks, right? It's easier said than done. But for example, we're going to come up on the end of the first quarter, Brett, and this book really makes you realize that if you looked at everything in 12-week cycles, I'm acting now as if March 30th is December 31st. Would you do anything different to complete your year than you would your first quarter? Because what we usually do, right, is we go, I'll make it up in Q2, Q3. Well, what if there was no Q2, Q3? What if every single year was 12 weeks long? And so those are the two that I think are been the most prevalent for me right now. Both of them highly valuable.
Love it. I'm gonna check out 12-week work week right away. And Atomic Habits is absolutely amazing. Cool. Next question. What are you curious about right now?
A lot of, funny enough, a lot of what I'm studying right now is YouTube. YouTube, for real estate, for attracting leads. All of my agents were working on it. We just read a great book, Real Estate, YouTube for Real Estate Agents. It's a lot of discovery of trying to figure out how I can reach a specific audience, kind of like how you're doing your podcast. Your attention is getting to a specific audience. And Brett, just to put on this show, how much you had to learn to make this work, right? It looks effortless, right? You got a great background, you got the mics going, it's all that. It's like, if they only knew how hard it is, and then after this, you have to hang this up and then produce it, right? And then it's like, it's not for everyone, but it is doable, it's learnable. But like we talked about, you got to put a lot of time and effort into it. You got to figure out what camera and what micro, all of this stuff, and then it's trial and error. And even when you're doing it at the best, it still goes wild. So YouTube is what I'm really diving into right now, understanding the algorithms, understanding how to do the ads, the cards, the making, all that stuff. You talk about a rabbit hole. You want to lose a whole month of your life, just get into YouTube and it's goodbye. So
absolutely. By the way, Brent, I'll give you some feedback, and maybe you've already done it, but anyone's listening, go hire a coach, right?
Yeah.
So I'm actually seeking out a YouTube coach now. I sought out a podcast coach. I have a business coach. I have masterminds, right? And then more masterminds with more people. So get with folks that are going to help you, overcome those false beliefs and are going to guide you, right? Who are one step ahead of you, right? Because something might seem so daunting, but they were in your shoes at one point and they can help you overcome those things versus just trying to do it yourself, right? Hire that coach, get out of your own way, entrepreneurs and real estate professionals, get out of your own way. That being said, what's the biggest challenge real estate agents are facing right now?
Biggest challenge you're facing is inventory. There's no question about it. And that there's more competition of agents than there ever has been before because the market has been so good. So people are living in this universe where they think the market is always like this. And it's like, if I take a listing, it sells in 4 seconds. Well, it wasn't always like that. It won't always be like that. And then also I'm coming into the market and going, I'm trying to, make a living in this. But unless I have a cash buyer that's going to do this, how do I get the regular guy a house? And that's the challenge they're facing right now, is just inventory and competition.
Beautiful. Well said. Last question. After all your success and helping so many people have success in real estate, being one of the top 1% at Keller Williams, Brendan, how do you stay centered in your values and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new goals?
Yeah. So we have a very solid value system with our organization. We call it the 3 Ps: people, progression, and philanthropy. I think about it in every decision I make. I go with the people. I go, is this taking care of my internal agents? And is it serving our clients? Because those are both the important people to us. Progression, if you're not moving forward and you're not committed to self-development, then you probably shouldn't be in my universe. And then philanthropy, the more we make, the more we give back. So I try to make decisions based upon those 3 Ps on a daily basis. It's really helped me have a framework for keeping centered, because in this business you can go sideways very, very quickly. But those are the values that we utilize to keep us straight.
Brendan, Bartek, thank you so much for being on the show, sharing a bit about yourself, your passion for helping people, a bit about your resilience and your limitless belief that potential in yourself and others, right? That we can achieve the dreams and the visions that we have for our lives. And so I want to encourage you to keep using those gifts and keep using those talents to make it be a blessing to others. And one last time, for people who want to get in touch with you, what's the best place for them to connect with you?
BrendanBartek.com. So BrendanBartic.com. That's the easiest place. We also have an amazing private Facebook page, which is called Brendan Bartek Real Estate Coaching. If you're a real real estate agent, you'll love that. And then if you're looking to buy or sell a home and have the best agents work with you on earth, then it's the bartekgroup.com. That's our real estate team that'll be able to serve any of your needs to make sure that you have the best service in the Front Range area.
Beautiful. Brendan, thanks for being on the show. And I also want to thank our listeners for listening to the episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, the 1031 exchange, or maybe even the 721 exchange, right? You guys haven't heard about that one probably in a while. Is the maybe, and I think perhaps the best way to grow your wealth. You can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to learn more about the Deferred Sales Trust and other options to help you defer taxes. By the way, on the sale of primary homes, on the sale of cryptocurrency, on the sale of stocks, on the sale of investment properties, saves the failed 1031 exchange. Make sure you go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And if you're a realtor listening to this, you can go to experttaxsecrets.com. We also have a coaching program to teach you how to do tax deferral and to grow your business and win more listings. Thanks everyone for listening to the show. We appreciate you and hope to be